Yes, yes. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. No, stop, you're too kind. Welcome to another episode. Hello, my name is Jason Wallace, and I am the Director of Business Solutions at EatOkra. And on behalf of EatOkra, we'd like to thank you for registering for the third of 4 educational webinars executive produced by EatOkra. This educational webinar series is designed to empower emerging and established Black restaurateurs, food truck operators, and caterers. Tonight's session, part 1 of a 2-part session, the second part will be tomorrow night, digital marketing and PR methods for telling your brand story. So now, before we get started, let me do a little plug for EatOkra. If you don't know, EatOkra is the go-to app for discovering Black-owned restaurants nationwide. Where food, culture, and community link. EatOkra has connected over 300,000 foodies to culinary creators and restaurants like yourself. At EatOkra, we help restaurateurs and food truck owners discover methods to grow and scale their business by providing access to industry experts and leaders like you're going to experience tonight. Now, if you are a Black-owned restaurant, get listed on EatOkra, the app today.
Why do we keep having people here?
If you have any questions about existing EatOkra membership or about how to become a member, you can email Kevin Edwards, Customer Success Manager at kevin@eatokra.com. That is kevin@eatokra.com. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about this series that we've had throughout the month of April. Tell a friend, bring a friend. Every Monday throughout the month of April, we've had these educational seminars. This week, we're going to have part 1 tonight, Monday, and part 2 tomorrow night. And this is where we reveal methods to grow and scale your business with industry professionals. And this month, we've been focusing on the Washington, D.C. metro area. And together, we'll cover everything from participating in culinary incubators to pop-up events to brand storytelling. So again, these are free educational webinars. You know, sign up, tell a friend, bring a friend, and make sure you do not miss the opportunity to really learn some great information. And none of this would be possible. We have to thank our partners, and that includes PepsiCo, Uber Eats, and Dashable.com. And we want to thank Apple Guides for collaborating with us on our Apple Guide during Black History Month, and we'll have more of those coming out. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump into tonight's topic. And today we'll be discussing digital marketing and PR methods for telling your brand story. And tonight we are blessed to have an extremely talented and knowledgeable professional, the founder of the online platform, Feed the Malik. I'd like to welcome Anela Malik. Anela, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Not bad, not bad, not bad. Again, we want to thank you for taking the time to come out and really talk to us tonight about digital marketing and methods for telling a brand story. So tell us a little bit about your story.
So I am a full-time food writer, blogger, influencer who focuses on food. And I now, for my own business, use social media and digital marketing strategies every day. I also do free coaching with Black restaurateurs, caterers, et cetera, to help them, survive and thrive, particularly during the pandemic, but to help them best utilize these free tools. And that's really what we're going to emphasize here when we're talking about social media, is that they are free, right? And so it's a great way to leverage what time and skills you do have without spending additional money if you don't want to. And so that's a big part of my business. And before I worked for myself, I was a US diplomat, and I also did social media and strategy for the US government. So wow. I have a lot of experience in this particular niche, but now I really just focus on food.
Wow. Wow, y'all heard that. Again, we tell you that EatOkra, we bring you industry experts, and clearly you can see the quality of free educational college level information that you're getting here from these webinars sponsored by EatOkra, designed by EatOkra, and distributed by EatOkra. So let's talk a little bit about strategy and posting on social media. Like, how does that work in today's market? Because there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of people out there doing it. Can you tell us What's the proper method for and strategy?
So I'm going to take it really big picture
Okay.
because we'll have time for questions afterwards. And I think this is really important for business owners to understand. And this is the biggest kind of pain point that I always try to address when I'm working with food business owners, is this sense that the market is saturated. It's so much time and effort. We don't know what to do. Is it even worth it? And so I feel like we have to get over that sense of overwhelm. That's our first step. And we have to really look at this from a strategic standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So the tried and true strategy for posting on social media to promote your business, to share your brand story, and hopefully convert that into sales. What does that strategy look like? It's whatever strategy you as a business owner can manage consistently. And I say that because, there's a lot of advice floating around, and some of it's great, some of it's not so great. But as a business owner, you have to really take a serious look at how much time you have. What's your level of literacy, of skill with social media? What platforms are you most comfortable with? And take a look at what equipment you have and what funding you do have or don't have to invest in social media.
Gotcha.
Once you have a clear picture of those things, you should be able to figure out, okay, what consistently do you think you could do for your brand, for your business to show up on social media? So that's the tried and true strategy, is it has to be really rooted in an honest assessment of where you are as a business owner.
Right.
And I would say the very minimum you should aim for as a food business owner is a social media page on a platform with a bio that's well fleshed out, right? It tells folks what you offer, where you offer it, when you offer it. They should be able to read that bio and not have any questions for you. And it has a few photos and a link either to your website, or if you don't have a website, to your Facebook page or your Yelp page. And that's really it. That's the bare minimum. Clearly, we want to exceed that. But honestly, I even see many thriving restaurants today that when I look at their social media, I can see that they are missing out on converting those followers into sales because they're getting the same questions on their posts over and over. What time are you open? Are you open on Saturday? Do you take reservations for the patio? So what that's telling me as, a marketer and strategist is that there's a gap in probably their bio information, in the information that's immediately presented to customers. So that's the minimum, right?
Right.
And the best case scenario is that you have, as a business owner, at least one branded platform for your social media that you post on consistently, that you have up-to-date photos on, that when people do a quick scan, they can see this place is open, I know what they offer, and I can even get a little peek through the visuals.
Got you. Now, what if I'm a chef or I'm a restaurateur and I'm not really that savvy with social media or have the time to write a bio? Can they come to you and you can develop that information for them?
So I do coaching with business owners, and I wouldn't say I can develop that strategy for them, right? Because that is, honestly, it's a huge investment, but I can give them the framework for doing it for themselves.
Okay.
And that's really what I focus on with my work with food business owners, is that there's so much information about social media out there. And my approach is that if I can point you in the right direction, I can give you probably 5 or 6 steps that if you follow them, you'll be able to do it for yourself. It is not as complicated as people make it out to be. Okay. And for example, you don't need fancy tools. You really don't. You don't have to post every day. You don't have to post 3 times a day. You don't need to buy a bunch of equipment. You don't have to know anything about videography. All of those things are not requirements to have a strong social media presence for your brand. The one requirement is that you have to approach this as, okay, I'm probably going to have to learn a few new skills.
Got you.
There's a time investment.
Right. Got you. And what type of posts are actually most effective?
So I will say generally on every platform right now, video is king or queen. Video is really going to be the type of content that sets you apart. And you'll see this in food businesses as well. The the up and coming restaurants that have those videos that have the fun up close shots of the cheese or the sauce, etc., they do well. Video in general tends to perform better. However, that's not to say that you can't snap a few photos on your iPhone, put a filter on them and post them and have them not only do well, but right, social media engagement is one thing. What you're thinking about as a business owner is converting those people into customers. Okay. And so say you don't know how to do video, but you can take one of your most popular entrees outside into the clear sunlight, snap a photo that's clear, bright, and detailed, post it, and it gives people an example of your most popular entree. Gotcha. And you can say, this is our most popular entree. This flies out the door. It's so good. You know, here's what John from Yelp said about this entree. Gotcha. So you have to think about, yes, trying to stay current with the trends, but what are you really capable of doing as a business owner who likely has limited time, I'm guessing.
Right, absolutely.
You probably don't have a dedicated social media person unless you can hire your like friend, cousin, niece, which people do. And honestly, if you have that, that is fabulous. Exploit it. Think about what you can reasonably do consistently, and you would be amazed at how far you can get. And I'll give a couple examples, right? Mm-hmm. So we have done coaching with business owners since last year. And there's one particular business here in DC that we worked with just to give them a very basic understanding of social media and how to take photos, like where they could buy some pre-made filters that are really high quality, but it's only $20. And then you can use them over and over and over, and they make your photography look amazing, right? Mm-hmm. So very simple stuff. And they were opening a new pop-up out of a food incubator here in DC. So they didn't have any prior name recognition, no press, no PR person, no nothing, just social media. And they sold out every weekend since they've been open. And I think they opened 6 months ago.
Wow.
And they're not doing fancy videos, right? They're not doing, I think, any video.
Right.
But they're giving people who come across their brand online a visual example of what they're going to experience if they order from them.
Got you. What's taboo? What should they not post? What should they avoid?
So I'm a very political person online, and I think food is political. So I would say that there's almost nothing that I would consider to be taboo, as long as you as a business owner are willing to stand behind it.
Okay.
So share your beliefs, but understand that in our current political climate and our just current, public discourse, that people might come for you for that. And you have to be willing to accept that criticism. If you're not, accepting and understanding that that's probably going to happen, if you wade into anything that's not explicitly food related, then maybe don't share it. But what we see on the customer side is, for example, in the last few years, many wineries have been seeking certified B Corp certification. Not necessarily because these wine producers are interested in being altruistic, but they're doing it because their customers are demanding it, because customers are more and more concerned with the environment, right, with, organic products and packaging that's biodegradable or recyclable, and all of these various things that might go into something like a certified B Corp certification.
Right.
And so what we see from customers is that they do want to shop from businesses, even food and beverage related businesses, that align with their values.
Got you. Is there a thin line between personal photos and professional or business photos?
So I see this a lot. And I would say actually that the line's very thin, and as long as it's not like an inappropriate photo, it's probably fine. People tend to think, I think, a little too hard about professionalism when they're running their business Instagram or their business Facebook page. Like maybe have some baseline rules, like you probably shouldn't be cursing, right? No nudity, etc. But a photo of the chef, a photo of the servers, a photo of all of the kitchen staff together, that serves to humanize your brand to your audience, right? And it builds a stronger connection. And so that kind of content should be interspersed definitely with shots of the food, shots of the environment, anything that encompasses your brand or your business is fair game.
Right. Excellent. And just so the viewers out there, you can ask questions, please. We encourage you to put your questions into the chat, and we'll filter them, and then we'll get them to Anela so she can answer your questions directly about your pain points. So don't hold back. Do that right away. Anela, so talk to me about other tools. I mean, we know Facebook, we know Instagram, right? Are there other tools besides those two that people should be utilizing?
Oh, absolutely. There's so many. First of all, let's just cover the social media platforms right now.
Okay.
TikTok,
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I think Twitter is severely underutilized by most brick and mortar food businesses. The exception is typically food trucks, because often they tend to be a little bit more social media active because they don't have a fixed location. So they have to learn how to communicate that with their customers in order to survive. Pinterest, but as a food business of this type, you probably wouldn't be using Pinterest very much. And then there are an old tool that is, old faithful, and a new-ish tool that I think business owners should be considering. So the old tool is email marketing.
Okay.
So why is email marketing important? It seems silly, it's old, it's not fancy, but okay. When you post on social media, algorithms function in such a way that even if your content is amazing, even if it goes viral, it's not going to get shown to everyone who even follows you. Okay. It's not going to be shown to your entire community. Hold on one second.
I was wondering what that was. Is that your cat?
Baby, you have to get these cats. They're very upset that my attention.
I know. I heard them. Like, wow. I was like, where is that coming from?
My attention is not on them. So
no problem.
Okay, those are the social media platforms as a food business you'll probably be using. Email marketing is important because when you send someone an email and they're on your email list, it's up to that person's decision making whether they want to open it or not. So you're taking that choice away from Instagram's algorithm or Facebook's algorithm, and you're putting it in the hands of your customer. And if you have a good relationship with your customer, it's likely they'll open your email, they'll browse, they'll be curious to see whether there's a discount in there or something exciting happening, or maybe they just want an update on your business. And email marketing is, I would say, underutilized by a lot of restaurants, but it is so important to build your email list and to keep it active. It is a way to reach people that you can control. Right. And frankly, Instagram could shut down tomorrow. TikTok could get banned tomorrow. Facebook could have an outage, or your account gets hacked or deleted, or any of those things, and you would still have your email list as a brand. So that's really important. And then a newer strategy that I've seen some food businesses leverage very successfully is text message marketing.
Okay.
And so that's typically, you get customers to either opt in at the point of sale or opt in via, routing them through social media, and you send out regular text updates to them whenever there's something exciting that they should check out. And text messages have an extremely high open rate because we as people, most of us read our text messages, even if we don't read our emails and even if we don't check social media. So it can be a very effective way to communicate with your customers. I would say in particular for food truck operators who are going to have varying locations, they might want to update their text message subscribers on their weekly schedule, for example. So those are two platforms that I think all food business owners should be looking at. Maybe they only choose one, but social media shouldn't be the anchor of your marketing platform. Got it.
I want to back up a little bit because you said something about algorithms. And to many people, and I don't know if this is within your wheelhouse, I don't know how deep of a dive you could take into that, but many people don't understand what that means and how to utilize it. Can you take a deeper dive into algorithms and how it works on social media?
So I can give a broad overview, and this is something that, I own my own accounts, and I do a lot of experimentation to try to test to see what's happening right now in the current environment. But generally, it's all educated guesses because the only people who really know what's going on with the algorithm are the people who work at the social media platforms who are tweaking it. And sometimes they will tweak it, right?
Okay.
So generally, when you post on social media, there is a computer code that decides who to show your content to. It will make that decision based on a variety of factors, including who you follow, who you interact with, who follows you, who interacts with you, what type of content it is, what time of day it was posted, all sorts of factors, right? And so when you're sharing on social media, there's always the potential that your content could go viral. And what that means, it just gets shown to thousands upon thousands of new eyes, right? But that likelihood is pretty small on most platforms, though TikTok can be an exception because it's so new and it's not saturated nearly as much yet. So all of that is to say that what you're trying to do as a brand or a business when you post on social media is post content that you think the algorithm will favor.
Okay.
And the best way to figure that out is to look at what is performing well on social media when you are browsing. When you're logged in and you're looking at maybe businesses in your sector, who's getting lots of views and lots of likes and lots of comments? What are they doing? Maybe their photos are really, really bright. Maybe they're well edited, so they're super detailed and clear. Maybe they're doing a lot of what we call quote unquote food porn shots, where it's like up close of the cheese sauce, et cetera, et cetera. But that market research is right there for you as you browse. You just have to pay attention to it.
Got it. So I still want to talk a little bit about marketing research and demographics. So how important are the demographics and how does one learn? Again, if I'm a restaurateur and I'm in the trenches every day, 10, 12, 13 hours a day, how do I know my target market and the demographics of that market as it relates to social media?
So if you were going to run your brand or your business's social media full time, I would have this very long conversation with you about digging into demographics and target markets and doing research. But I will say this, none of the restaurant owners or food business owners that I've worked with have ever had that much time available to them, which is why I typically say, yes, the market research is important, but what's really important is that you figure out what you can do consistently. And let me give you an example. If you are not super comfortable on social media and you're most comfortable with Facebook, use Facebook, invest in Facebook. If you're maybe younger or you're super tech savvy and you like playing around with video, get on TikTok. If you're somewhere in the middle, and Instagram feels really comfortable to you and you know how to use it and you know how to use all the features, and like Facebook doesn't make sense, then get on Instagram, right? And I say this because being realistic about what particularly small business owners are juggling, I don't think that many of them are going to have the time to do, a week's worth of just market research and then a week's worth of plotting out like their strategies on multiple platforms, et cetera.
Got it. Are there any questions? Kevin, are you there? Are there any questions in the chat that we want to ask?
Hi, yeah, I got a couple questions. Should restaurant owners be following their customers, or the people who follow them? Is that important?
So I would say restaurant owners should treat their social media as a business social media, right? So maybe don't follow everyone, but what you're trying to do is build a sense of community around your brand and your brand's identity. So you should be engaging with people. You should be talking to them. You should be answering their questions. You should be, especially your like regulars who probably check your social media to figure out if there's anything special they want to come in for. You should be following them. It's social media. So you should be social, right? You should be really focused on that social aspect. Building community and replying to comments, replying to DMs is vital, not only for customer loyalty, but also to capture those potential customers who maybe send you a question, but if you don't answer their question, they're not going to come visit you.
Got it.
Very cool. Thank you.
Any more, Captain? No question. Okay. I want to follow up on that because when it comes to budgeting and the social media platforms, what's a decent budget that one should spend? It's a two-part question. Am I concerned with increasing my followers, or do I first have them become followers before I try to convert them into customers, or what? What's the method for a budget and a good social media strategy in terms of both building followers but also increasing the customers that we can convert?
So I can answer this question and tie in one of the questions I see in the chat about recommending a social media calendar to assist with scheduling, because a calendar and a scheduling app should be part of your budget. I would say for the very, very, beginner to start out, you don't need to budget much other than food, because as a food business owner, you're going to have to take photos of the food, right? So that is a separate cost that I won't include in this. But beyond that, maybe budget $100 a month.
Okay, that's not bad.
Plus your time. You're going to have to budget your time. So what are you going to spend that $100 on? I would recommend getting a scheduling app and scheduling out posts in advance, because then you don't, get on that get on that crazy experience where you forget to post, so you're stressed. And so then social media makes you stressed. So then you don't want to engage with it anymore. So then you just throw it away.
Right.
And I see that happen a lot. So if you schedule in advance, it really takes the burden off of you in the moment. Maybe you're waiting for a delivery and, your servers are late. It's not a good time in that moment to try to think up a creative social media post. So
Gotcha.
I would use a platform like Later. I think Later is really easy to use and has incredible free trainings on their website. So that's why I always recommend it, right? You get the education aspect there. If you sign up for their emails, I always find something valuable to learn about social media in their emails. And it's about $20 a month for a business profile, which will let you can schedule certain types of posts to auto-publish, so you don't even have to press go on them. And you can look at the calendar view, and it's just much easier for you to kind of plot it out that way.
Got it.
And then, so that's $20. Then you have $80 left. And what I would do is look into maybe once a month purchasing some sort of tool that could improve your social media presence. And what do I mean by that? Is a small handheld light so that you can take photos inside your business that are still bright and clear. And you can get those lights on Amazon for anywhere from, I would say, the $30 to $60 ones typically are good quality. Get a few editing apps, get Lightroom, maybe get Adobe Rush, so you can play around with video if you feel like that's something you want to experiment with. And then what you really do need is you need to have a smartphone that has a decent quality camera. So a relatively new smartphone. Most people's phones, especially for photography for social media, are adequate. Most people don't need to go out and buy a new phone. And then get some photo filters, they're called presets. Presets are basically...
You said presets?
Presets.
Okay.
They're basically filters that are made by professional photographers that they sell. And you can get a package of presets that are specifically for food, usually around $20 to $30, and they have anywhere from 10 to 20 presets in them. And frankly, if you're new to photography and you're new to editing, they're going to take your photos to a place that it will take you a long time to figure out how to get there on your own. And so it saves you time, and it's a one-time purchase. So I would look into those types of tools and accumulating them over time. You don't need them all at once. Really start with your phone, a scheduling tool, and just making sure your brand's bio on all of your social media accounts is flawless. Start there, and you're in a good place.
Got it. Are there any other questions? You said you saw a question in the chat?
That was the one about...
Could you read it again? I didn't hear the question, Excel. What was the question?
So the question was, can you recommend a social media calendar to assist with scheduling your posts?
Got it. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna hold you in this space a little bit because, for some of us who are social media challenged, is there a proper way to actually create the content so that so it is being released on a timely fashion? You follow what I'm saying? Like, how do I weave that into my strategy for getting a return on my investment? Right. So if you're saying I'm budgeting $100 a month, should I be quantifying again how many followers I have versus converting them over into actual customers? And where's that thin line between the marketing and the call to action? Right. So how do I quantify that return on investment? So is there a call to action that needs to go into every post, every 3 posts, or what's the strategy for that?
So it really depends on your business's goals, but I will
Okay.
say that overall followers should never be a goal, because you can have 500,000 followers, but they don't take action
Gotcha.
when you post, right? When you share. So
Gotcha.
what you should be looking at is engagement. You should want to share something with your community and have people respond to it. You want them to like it, to comment on it, to save it, to share it. And when you're trying to measure specific progress towards a goal, you have to know what the specific goal is. So for example, I'll use my business. In the last 6 months, I've been really focused on building my email list, because Instagram is not a safe place. I'll just say that as for marginalized creators, Instagram can be very difficult, right? There's a lot of racist trolling. There's a lot of sexist. There's just things that I don't want to deal with. And I control my email list. So I have interspersed a call to action, not in every post, but in multiple posts, in my stories, in my videos, even sometimes, to encourage people to join my email list. And so since I know that that's what my specific goal is, then I can measure my return on investment, because I can see over time how fast my email list has grown. But you as a business owner should be very specific about what your current goals are and how you're going to measure them.
Drop a bomb on that one right there. That was knowledge right there. We got a bomb drop. Oh, yeah, there we go. Thank you for that. That was huge right there. I almost want you to repeat it again because it was so powerful of information. Thank you. Anything else you want to add to that before we go to the next topic?
I would say that the biggest thing to take from this conversation is that, yeah, it will take some time and it will take some experimentation. Everyone fails on social media sometimes. Okay. Everyone shares something that flops. It's just going to happen. But it's not rocket science. And I know that it seems overwhelming and it seems ridiculous, but you have a business and you know what your business stands for. You know what your business's values are. You know what you serve. You know what you offer. You know who works there, because you're the business owner. Right. And so all of those things that encompass your brand or your business are fair game for you to share about on social media. So it's not, it shouldn't take that much thought to get to the content part, because all you have to do is represent your business authentically online.
Another bomb drop right there. Authenticity. So let's segue over into influencers, right? What are the role of influencers in the social media game, and when do I need to bring one on? And if so, how much do I need to pay for it? And how do I set the scope of work? How do I determine the return on investment in terms of influencers?
So this is tricky because every influencer has a different approach. And so I will say that your very first step as a business owner should be to decide what you are comfortable with. Are you in a place where you're comfortable paying an influencer? Do you think that type of marketing would be useful for you? Maybe ask other people in your region, in your area, if they've worked with an influencer, who they worked with, lessons learned, et cetera, because each locality is going to have a very different set of players in this space. And an influencer, I will give my definition, is not someone with all of the followers, okay? And this is something I see business owners do a lot, which is a big mistake. They go for immediately trying to work with the influencers they see nearby that have the largest followings, and they don't do their homework on any of the other metrics they should be looking at. So an influencer is someone with influence. In the social media space, it means that it's someone who can share about something and people trust their recommendations enough to take action based off of them. They will check out this company, they will order from them, they will go visit them, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, followers are not a good metric of whether someone has the trust of their community. You really should be looking at engagement. And you should be looking at the quality of the engagement. So for example, I would go, if I was a restaurant owner, to a DC influencer's profile, and I would be like, okay, they seem to have built an active following. Read the comments.
Mm-hmm.
Are people just commenting, looks great, looks great, looks great, looks great, looks great?
Right.
I mean, because that's not necessarily.
That's not engagement, right? Exactly.
What you should be looking for is people who are like, I tried this last week because you shared it and it was really good and I can't wait to go back again. Boom.
Right.
That person has influence because they convinced someone to take action based off of their posts. And so if you're going to think about working with influencers, yes, you do have to do a little bit of research to make sure that the people you're reaching out to are people who are actually of influence. And then the big question everyone has is, should I pay them? How do I pay them? How do we figure out deliverables, the scope of work, et cetera?
Right.
So generally, the smaller the account is, the smaller their following is, the more likely they are to do work in exchange for free food in this space.
Okay.
I'll just be honest. And as they grow, often they will change their stance on that. But it really depends, right? It depends on, for example,
sounds like a bribe.
Well, I don't charge Black-owned businesses for promo. I haven't.
Okay.
And that's my stance because that's my business model is built on other streams of income, right? But not everyone has that.
Let's get some hand claps on that one. We want to thank you. Thank you for that. Absolutely.
But I will say that's a privilege that I have, right? I have a certain amount of privilege that has allowed me to design my business this way.
Okay.
And just because somebody wants payment does not mean their work is not valuable, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't work with them. But they should be able to give you examples of previous work that they've done that's similar. They should be able to show you, prior campaigns they've worked on, prior restaurants they've worked with, and talk to you about how that worked. Give you a sense of the deliverables, the scope of work that they think is fair, and you can negotiate, you can go back and forth. But it's really dependent on the particular influencer, which is why I tell every business owner when they start down this road is to get very clear on what you're comfortable with and stick with that, because otherwise you're never going to be satisfied, even if they give you a rush of business, because you're going to feel like this isn't what I really wanted. So if you think influencer marketing is something you have a budget for, set a budget and then go out into the influencer world and try to find someone who's willing to work with you for your budget. But if you're not in a place where you have a budget for it, then try to find out, maybe from your peers, from other business owners, who in the local space might not charge me, who in the local space would be willing to work with me, without payment, and which of those people do you think their audience would be most interested in our brand and our business.
What's a reasonable payment, and how often does the influencer engage with the restaurant? Is it once a week? Is it twice a month? Like, how do we know what's the standard?
So there's no standard. Okay. And I'll say this, frankly, the influencer industry is very new.
Okay.
And can drive huge traffic. It really can. I mean, I have heard and seen from my work and other influencers' work in DC, restaurants that are like, we sold out 3 weeks in a row after we partnered with this person, because they happened to post a video that did very well and in the local scene just got shared 2,000 times, right? And so that could happen. And even in that case, maybe that influencer charged, maybe they didn't. Maybe they charged a couple $100, maybe they charged a couple thousand. It's really dependent on the size of their following, their engagement, and their business model, and frankly, whether they can afford to work for free.
Got it. Almost sounds like an old school party promoter, right? Back in the days, like, all right, you got to bar your bar slow on a Monday night. I bring a crowd through and I get part of the door or the bar sales. Interesting. So for those that just may have joined us late, you are listening to Anela Malik from Feed the Malik, founder of the online platform, Digital Marketing and PR Methods for Telling Your Brand Story. And we're here at EatOkra, just dropping knowledge and dropping bombs on a regular basis. Kev, do we have any questions in the chat?
Negative. The chat is quiet.
Quiet. Okay. All right. That's because she's just giving us so much information. She's leaving no stone unturned. Let me use this opportunity to plug EatOkra. If you are a Black-owned restaurant, get listed on EatOkra, the app, today. If you have any questions about your existing EatOkra membership or about how to become a member, make sure you contact that gentleman, that voice, that sexy, silky voice that you heard, Kevin Edwards, Customer Success Manager at kevin@eatokra.com. So, Anela, you've dropped several bombs, very good information. As we wind down the show, what do you want our listeners and viewers to walk away with from today's discussion?
I would like business owners, food business owners in general, to walk away with an understanding of why social media is an important tool. It can be difficult, it can be confusing, and it changes rapidly, but it is a free marketing tool. It's free, right? If you have a phone, you can utilize it. And it is something that, though you're subject to the whims of the algorithm, you can control. Many restaurants, especially if they don't have PR representation, they can't control if they're ever going to get on NBC or get a write-up in the Post or in the New York Times. And for most food business owners, that will never happen, unfortunately, right? And I have serious issues with media coverage, particularly of Black-owned businesses, but right. That's the world we live in. And right. Social media is something that you can take control over. And yes, you can do it for absolutely free if you want to, and you can just invest your time. If you have an extra hour a week and you're looking for something that's like low cost, that could have, a serious payoff, probably in 5 or 6 months, not in a week, then look at social media as that tool, as your own PR agency that's just not charging you.
Right. Absolutely. How do people get people? Oh, go ahead, Kev. Yep.
Jason, we got a question from Crystal Williams. What are your thoughts on Google ads, also Yelp and Facebook ads?
So I will caveat, I personally don't purchase ads and I don't necessarily recommend them. I have worked with a few businesses that have, leveraged ads heavily, and I've seen really mixed results. So from a marketing standpoint, professional marketers will say this: getting Facebook and Google ads right is extremely tricky. And so if you're going to do it and you want the payout, typically you hire a specialist to design them for you. To do them yourself, you're likely not going to get the payoff that you want because it's just a very complex ecosystem. And that's the simplest explanation I can give, that it can be very useful, but typically you're going to have to spend a lot of money to get it to that point where it's very useful.
Got it.
And how many times a week should an entrepreneur post?
As many times a week as you can consistently post. And why do I say that? Consistency is a huge tool as a marketer. What it does is it makes your audience feel comfortable with you. If they know that you're going to show up maybe twice a week, even if you don't announce it, but they know it subconsciously, they look at your feed and they follow and they say, okay, this person shows up twice a week. They feel like they can depend on you. And through that consistency, through the fact that you do show up, however so often makes sense for you and your business and your schedule, through that process, they get to know your brand, right? And so some people post every day. I post Monday through Friday. I know businesses that do really well posting on just Tuesday and Thursday, because Tuesday and Thursday are when they have time to show up. And as long as somebody comes to your social media profile for your brand, and especially if your most recent posts are pretty current, that's a good sign for a customer, actually. The worst thing that can happen for someone browsing is they click on your business's profile and you have not posted in 6 months to a year.
Oh.
They're going to wonder if you're still open.
Right.
They're going to wonder if the information in your bio is still current, because even if your bio is super fleshed out and beautiful and perfect, well, now you haven't updated your feed in a year and they're wondering whether that bio is outdated as well. So consistency is really key here, and it has to be defined, on your own schedule, on your own terms.
Got it. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a particular day and time that is better than other days, weekends, Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings, Tuesday nights?
So yes and no, there is, but it's going to be different for each profile and platform.
Got it.
For example, my Instagram best times to post will differ from your Instagram best times to post.
Okay.
Because they're based off of your audience, when your audience is most active. And we may have some crossover between our audiences, but we're also going to have a lot of difference there.
Gotcha.
And so a tool like Later will tell you best times to post. It typically takes a few weeks for them to populate that data because it needs to basically read your account and you need to be using it and posting it. And it will give you some idea. But I will say this, it really doesn't matter that much if you trying to search for your best times to post means that you're being less consistent about how often you're showing up, right?
Right.
Plan what works for you. I could post at 9 p.m. some nights because that's what Later tells me is best. But what's best for my schedule is 4:15 to 4:30. So that's when I show up, 4:15 to 4:30, because then I can be present and I can make sure that I do it Monday through Friday, which is my schedule. And people, they come to expect that from you.
Right. Got it. Thank you. Wow. Great information. As I mentioned earlier, tonight is part one of a two-part series. Digital marketing and PR methods for telling your brand story. Tomorrow night, we will have Charissa Benjamin of Savor PR to discuss the various marketing methods as well. So please make sure that you come back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. And Anela, are you going to be on as well with us tomorrow night?
Mm-hmm. I'll be hanging out, and Charissa is fabulous. She's a wealth of information, so you don't want to miss it.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, as we wind down, I want to give a special thanks to Anela Malik for joining us tonight. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
No doubt. And again, we also want to thank our partners, PepsiCo, Uber Eats, and Dashable.com and Apple Guide for their collaboration on the Apple Guides. I want to thank Team EatOkra, co-founders Janique and Anthony Edwards Jr. Let's give them a round of applause.
Oh, there is one question in the chat I really want to answer.
Okay, all right. Go ahead. She says she has a question in the chat.
So we have a question. Do websites still matter, or should I stick to social media?
Great question.
Websites matter.
Websites matter, right?
But here's the thing, as a food business owner, and this is one of the biggest pitfalls that I see, is that if you don't know how to update your own website, just to update the very basic information, when something changes, you'll be reliant on a third party to make that change, and it never happens, or you have to pay them to do it, and then it's out of date. So you don't need a fancy website. It doesn't need to have pop-ups or any of the things. It needs to be easy to navigate and clear, right? It needs to, from the very first time somebody glances at it, when they click on it, tell them who you are, what you offer, where they can find it. That's it. And so I wouldn't necessarily even worry about getting a fancy website built or developed. You could use a tool like Squarespace or Wix to make one yourself that's just kind of drag and drop, but make sure the buttons work, make sure the links work, and make sure that information that's most relevant is there. And every time something changes about your business, you need to update your website. Your website is your best kind of like marketing hub, but only if you keep it up to date.
Question I have now, is a website or a funnel, right? One of those running long page kind of click funnels that have people do some type of call to action.
So generally for these types of food businesses, right, funnels, it's a marketing tactic to leverage people to take action. If they're browsing your website, they're probably interested in ordering from your food business.
Gotcha. Okay.
So just make it easy for them to do so. Tell them how they can order. What platforms are you on? Do you offer delivery? If you have outdoor seating, please list that, and also list whether you take reservations for outdoor seating.
Got it.
Right? All of those things that can help people make a decision that would bring them to your business over the other tab that they're browsing online right now.
Got it. Wow. Thank you. Any more questions in that chat? Hopefully somebody, it's not too late. We're not over. It's not over yet.
Hey, Anela, Crystal Williams has a question.
Yes.
How important are loyalty programs?
So I don't have a lot of data on this as a marketer. I have not worked on this from the marketing side. I only have experience in this as a customer, and I will say as a customer, they don't really sway my decision making that much. Maybe on certain delivery platforms, they are swayed by free delivery offers that I know that restaurants can sometimes control when they're going to offer free delivery on a platform and they're going to eat that cost. But generally, reward programs for coffee shops, they do well, but it's not necessarily because it's a loyalty program. It's because typically your neighborhood coffee shop is part of your routine. So you're going to stop along the way in the same place, and they're only competing with the coffee shop across the street to make you decide when you're stopping on your way to work, are you going to stop on this side or that side? But generally, I haven't seen much success with loyalty programs from restaurants.
Cool. I have one last question, and this is a question from me. As a restaurant owner, and when it comes to posting content on social media, are there any topics that are taboo that a restaurant might want to stay away from? I know that, in today's day and age, things can get a little hairy on social media when it comes to people being afraid of commenting on social issues, people getting canceled. Are there, should they stick to business, or is it okay to put their personal voice out there?
It is absolutely okay to put your personal voice out there as long as you're willing to stand behind it if people come for you. And I will say this, you can get canceled online for almost anything, but ultimately, if you're speaking on something you believe in, if you're speaking on something like Black Lives, then I would say as a business owner, you have to decide whether that's a statement you think is worth making. The only things I would stay away from as a business owner would be any sort of vaccine misinformation, or like the kind of medical misinformation that we see on social media now, because social media platforms themselves are cracking down on it. And so they'll just take your post down if they think you're spreading misinformation about COVID, about vaccinations, et cetera, because it's a public health issue. But your politics, I would say, are fair game. You just have to be willing to stand behind them.
Excellent.
Got it. Great questions. Great answers. All right. So, again, I want to thank everyone for viewing. I want to encourage you to go to EatOkra, the app, and download it. If you are an existing restaurant, make sure you claim. Get active. We need your feedback. We need to know what your pain points are so that we can continue to develop and bring educational materials that you want to hear, discussions that you want to talk about, and experts that you need to put you in contact with, in front of. So without any further ado, I want to finish thanking the EatOkra team. I want to thank Naja Aziz. I want to thank Joshua Sharp. I want to thank Brittany Harris, Kara Houston, and Kevin Edwards. I want to thank you again, and I expect to see you tomorrow night. Same bat time, same bat channel, 7 p.m. My name is Jason Wallace. Enjoy the rest of your evening.